Hello, and welcome to the candidate interviews for the 2015 municipal election. This is brought to you by Citizens for Environmental Balance and taped here in Newburyport's community studio, PortMedia, located on Graff Road. Citizens for Environmental Balance, or CEB, is a grassroots volunteer citizens group dedicated to ensuring that the people's voice is heard during public debate regarding the important issues that will have a long-term impact on the quality of our community's environment and our children's future. One of our mission goals is to present factual information so that informed decisions can be made regarding the future of the community. Citizens for Environmental Balance has, for a number of local elections, run candidate interviews. This is a series of one-on-one interviews with candidates for the City Council positions. All candidates have been invited to participate to air their stance on issues and to present themselves to us, the citizens of Newburyport. Each candidate has been given a list of questions 48 hours in advance of his or her interviews in order to prepare. Each candidate shall be asked the same questions. Follow-up questions will be asked as needed, and these will vary. I'm Dennis Chambers. I'm a resident of Federal Street and a registered voter here in the city, and I have essentially formulated these 10 questions. Each candidate's interview will air on the local access channels throughout the remainder of the season. In addition, the interviews will be posted on the internet for those without cable. May the voters be informed. Hello, I'm Dennis Chambers. I'm here on behalf of Citizens for Environmental Balance. Today we're talking with Laurel Allgrove, who is running for City Council at large. Laurel, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
I have here several questions that I'm asking all of the candidates for City Council. But before we get to that, I'm wondering if you would take a minute or two and tell the viewers and me why you're running and a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Laurel Allgrove. I've lived in Newburyport for about 20 years, and why I'm running is because I feel citizens need good representation. I work in a factory. I'm a blue-collar worker, and I feel like that aspect really hasn't been represented. I feel like I can bring a fresh aspect to being on the City Council. And I love this city. It's been very good to me over the years, and I would like to give back.
Thank you. Let's talk about one of the larger issues that are involving pretty much everybody in town these days, and that is the arrival of New England Development, Mr. Carpin and his folks. Would you give us your take on NED?
I'm very leery. I don't believe they really have been that forthcoming as far as their plans for the garage and the hotel. And I think they really need to be more forthcoming. I know people I've talked to are very concerned about that. They're afraid it's going to affect their way of life. They're worried about things like traffic and, you know, the cost of living going up here. Because when you bring in more people, it's going to make the taxes go up. And I think people are really worried about that. And I think people are afraid of being squeezed out.
Certainly when anyone arrives in town with an agenda and having that much money behind them, it's worth worrying about, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think people have the right to ask questions. I mean, we're the ones that live here, and we vote here, we pay taxes here, and I think we have the right to know.
Okay. Speaking of taxpayers, do you think we poor, benighted taxpayers are doing okay? Do you think we need some tax relief? Should we pay more in taxes? What's your general feeling about taxes here in the city?
I think we do need some tax relief. There's a lot of spending going on as far as the athletic fields and, all the fees going up, the water and sewage fees going up. I know my roommate's not happy about it, and other people I've talked to are very concerned. I talked to a couple who live on Purchase Street, and they've been here 16 years. They said their taxes have tripled, and they're close to retirement, and they are considering having to sell their house and move, which they don't want to. They love Newburyport as well, but they're afraid they can't afford to stay here.
We've had several large projects in the last few years, the senior center, the new school.
Yes.
All kinds of constructions going on here, and several folks on the council have already mentioned that it might be time to slow us down a little bit.
I couldn't agree more. I think we have to learn to say no to really big money projects, or at least give it more scrutiny than what we have in the past. I mean, because you have to look at the long term. It can't be a short-term knee-jerk reaction as far as, oh, we're going to make a bunch of money out of this. But what are we going to end up paying in the long run, and is it really worth it? You know, to those of us who are middle class or, you know, lower middle class.
You've been talking about these qualities for a couple of minutes now. Is that one of the things that's mostly driving you to put your life on hold, kind of, and run for city council? You feel strongly about these issues.
I do, because I have friends that work in the service industry. I have friends who are carpenters, and you know they are really worried about being able to afford to stay here. And I mean, like I said, I work in a factory myself, and I don't make a lot of mega bucks, which is fine. But I want to stay here myself. You know, this is my home. I want to keep it that way.
Let's talk about briefly, if we may, the Newburyport city budget. Councilors like yourself would have not all that much say about the budget, but you would have the power to cut some things. Are you thinking about any particular aspects of the city budget that you might like to take a harder look at?
Well, there was one thing in the paper a couple days ago that did catch my attention, and it was to do with city councilors not signing on to the health insurance. I think maybe that's something that could be looked at. I mean, if I'm elected city council and I'm given the option of having health insurance, I'm going to opt out of it, because where I work now, I have health insurance, which is pretty good. So I think that's something that maybe could be looked at. I'm not sure how much what the savings would be, but I say anything you can save, it would be worth it.
A nickel here, a nickel there.
Yes, you got it. It all adds up.
Speaking of adding up, let's jump right into one of the more unpleasant topics in town, but certainly an important one that everybody cares about, and that is the water and the sewer issues that are going on right now. What's your take on that?
What a disaster. I've talked to one of the gentlemen who's running for Ward 1, and the consensus I get is they didn't really look into this well enough. And you know, like one of the pieces of equipment that they use, the biofilter, wasn't the right one that they were supposed to have, and now it's only operating at 50%, and that's causing a lot of problems. It's causing a lot of odors in the neighborhood. People are complaining, and I can understand why. I don't know why this wasn't looked at closer when it was being built. I mean, I don't have all the facts on it, but from what I gather, it sounds like, I don't know if it was a rush job or not. But to me, it sounds like there wasn't painstaking as far as really looking over everything and making sure everything was up to snuff. Oh, here we are.
Here we are.
I know.
Right. And it will have to be dealt with, clearly. Right?
Well,
that's not one of the things we can put off.
Well, I think there should be more careful inspection before it's signed off on.
I know personally I feel like I'm running at 50% myself. I can relate to the sewer question. Let's talk about education, Laurel. The school systems seem to be operating pretty well on their own. Do you feel like parents and other residents in town should feel comfortable that the children in the city are getting a good education?
I haven't heard really any complaints from anyone. It sounds like I would like to see I've heard the foreign languages should come back, which I think is, very important.
Anything else? I kind of think that more emphasis on art, music.
Yes, absolutely.
The qualities of life that tend to really make life worth living, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That enriches children's education.
Right. Sadly, there's not much that the city council can do about the education budget, and it occupies well more than 50% of the whole city budget.
I think it's more like 60%. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I agree. There's not a lot that the city council has to do with.
Let's talk about a term that was new to me a few days ago until getting into this whole issue, and that is free cash.
Yes.
Do you know about free cash? Have you thought about it? Do you have a sense of where you would stand in terms of free cash going forward?
I think maybe the voters should have more of a say on it, the taxpayers, because it's their money that's going into free cash. I'm not sure what the ultimate solution is, but I think voters maybe should have more of a say.
And some things too, isn't it? Like fees, maybe some parking revenue.
Yeah, well, it's the taxes that they pay,
Yeah.
and the money doesn't get used right away.
Right.
I don't know, maybe put that in a separate account,
Uh-huh.
or some type of, I want to say a CD, but I don't think that's the right word. But something where maybe the citizens have more of a say.
Let's jump into one of the issues that affects me personally and pretty much everybody in town as well, and that is the state of the sidewalks. What do you think?
Oh,
What can we do?
the sidewalks are horrible.
Yeah.
I fell about 6 years ago on one of the sidewalks, and I ended up in the hospital for it. And I still suffer the effects of it. The sidewalks definitely need to be maintained. The parking fees, I know part of that goes to the sidewalk maintenance, and that's something that absolutely has to stay the course.
So if you were in the council, you would fight for that. You would fight for rebuilding the sidewalks, repairing them.
Absolutely. Because not only have I fallen and gone hurt, I have had friends that have fallen and gone hurt and also ended up in the hospital. And they're older senior citizens, and they don't recover as fast from such injuries.
I live on the south end, and I watch young mothers and families with children in baby carriages all the time. They don't walk on the sidewalk.
I don't either.
No.
I walk in the street and hope I don't get hit by a car.
So it is an issue that needs immediate care, I would think.
Absolutely.
What about the garage? We talked about Mr. Carper earlier. What about the garages going in pretty soon
Yes.
on Titcomb Street, I think, and the environment right around there? What do you have any thoughts about that? Have you seen any designs on it? Have you talked to
I went
people about it?
I went to the meeting on September 9th at the first meeting at City Hall, and they showed about 4 different designs, and this is pretty big. But the thing that struck me was the abutters who live right in that area. They're very concerned about pollution. They're concerned about noise, crime.
Wouldn't anybody be?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I definitely have sympathy for them.
Would that be part of your early days on the council? Would you start investigating it more seriously?
Absolutely, and definitely start asking the hard questions, because these people's lives are going to be affected, and they have no say.
And the life of the town too, I would think. It'll have a big footprint all over the city.
Huge footprint.
Okay.
Huge footprint.
Front here in Newburyport is one of our glorious features. It's what made us a colonial power. It's where
Yes.
some great clipper ships were built. Great historicity about the waterfront. What's your take on it?
Oh, it's absolutely important. I believe it's the main draw that brings people here. My cousins come up from Maryland, and they absolutely love it. They love to get their coffee, and we'll sit on the boardwalk together, watch the boats go by. And you meet all kinds of people, too, walking their dogs, with babies and strollers. And it's very important.
What do you think about the waterfront for the next 5 years, let's say? What would you like to see happen to it? Nothing? Leave it alone? Should we do some building? Should we get rid of the parking on the dirt lot? What do you think the focus of the city should be?
I'd definitely like to see more green space on it, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say definitely keep some parking on it, but I would definitely like to see more green space. Absolutely.
You've seen some of the designs from the Newburyport redevelopment group. Does that and anything like that work for you? Do you like how that design would fit in, or do you think it's maybe too much building?
I like the idea of a visitor center with bathrooms. That I think that's something that I think a lot of us can agree on.
Would you keep it a maritime emphasis?
Yes.
I think that new bathroom might have to do for sailboaters and folks enjoying the river.
Oh, you mean the Harbor Master Shack?
Yeah, that, and as well as any other building that might go up.
I think the Harbor Master Shack is too big, and I think it's costing way too much, and it's such a short boater season. I think it's too expansive for what they want to plan.
So you'd narrow that down. You'd bring that down to size.
If I was able to, yeah, yeah, and try to bring the cost down as well.
Let's wrap up our discussion here with one of the more important areas philosophically that has to do with the personality of the town, and that is historic preservation. Right? Newburyport's a great colonial city.
It is.
And what's your thinking about preserving the history around us?
Oh, I definitely agree with preserving the history. I hate to see old houses get knocked down. That breaks my heart, because the old houses have such character and unique little nuances that you really don't see in today's buildings. There was something brought up about a demolition delay when the historic preservation group was getting going.
So you're in favor of that? You're glad
demolition
that
delay?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't. Just because it's old doesn't mean you knock it down. You know, try to restore it and try to upkeep it the best you can, because that is what brings people here. I mean, I hear people commenting that they love the brick buildings and they love the Greek revivals and the Victorians and the Federalist houses, and I think we definitely have to hang on to that.
I think High Street, for one, is unique in America. I don't think there's any place like it.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And those homeowners take the time, and they really take pride in their homes.
We have about 30 seconds left in our time together. I'm happy to have you have the last word, whatever you'd like to share with us.
If I'm elected to City Council, I will work for you. I will represent you. I will listen to you. I will be your eyes and ears.
Laurel Allgrove, running for at-large City Council, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.